Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. The last time we had a look at the versions of you. This time we're going to go a little bit deeper and explore the one yourself, trying to get a better understanding of how do you utilize your current time to best set up everyone else who's going to come up after you. So just a quick summary, we talked about the you being a collection of multiple versions of you, and we also set a timeline for each version of you has 1 year in between the last birthday and your next birthday in order to achieve what they need to achieve, and then they need to basically hand over to the next person. Now, what that means is, as of right now, if you've already had your birthday or your birthday is coming up, you are within a certain time frame for you to achieve the things that you need to achieve. And your biggest task right now, the biggest task for the version of you that currently exists, is to map out the future, not to even achieve the goals, but to map out the future. Because by you sitting down and taking time to understand what is and what needs to be, you're making it way easier for every subsequent version. And you're also making it very simple for you to know what exactly you need to be doing as the next steps immediately, right? So whether you've just had your birthday or your birthday is coming up. So your last birthday, between your last birthday and the next birthday, you have roughly 12 months, right? Taking a rough estimate and assuming this is the current version of you, you have said you're maybe, let's say, 5 months into your birthday. What you need to do is, again, map out what is coming. And for you to do this successfully, you must first of all understand what the optimum version of you is. We already discussed this in the last video. And what we said is the optimum version of you is the version of you that can emerge if you happen to achieve everything you've ever set out to achieve. But in order for you to even know what that looks like, you need to both look back into your past and understand how the current version of you came to be, and then understand what are the goals that matter to this version, and what are going to be the goals that, if you're to project yourself as far off into the future, what will be the version of you that can emerge if you follow through on everything that you want to actually achieve. So what I'm calling this is basically visionscaping, and it's basically sitting down and the current version of you looking as far off into the future and trying to see and understand and project what you can become. And what you want to do is make this as clear as possible, right? You want to make this vision so clear and so big that it's going to pull you through time and through versions of you, and what we looked at last time, which is the vision gravity, where what you want to become is it's so powerful and it's so compelling to you that every subsequent version of you that's coming is going to be heading towards that. And what you're basically doing is building out a map. You're building out a map for what each version of you needs to look like, because if you know in 20 years time this is the goal that you want to achieve and this is the person you want to become, then what that means is every version that is coming after this, during their 1 year chunk, they know we are heading towards that goal, so this is what we need to do. So in order to help us do this, we've come up with what a tool called the SBA worksheet. I can't take credit for this. I got this from a course that I took. And the idea is to use visual representation to actually help you look into the past and project into the future and understand how to best bring out this version of you, to try and understand how to best bring out this version of you and map out what are the events that need to happen. And the idea behind the SBA worksheet is to use both visual and written word to cement that idea in your head, because once you have this belongs to you now and it's your story. So what you want to do is click on the link. I'm going to put this link in the description. Come to this, it's going to take you to this folder. Click on file and then click on make a copy. It does require you to have an account with Canva, so I highly recommend you open a free account. It won't take much. What you want to do is, once you've opened it, it's going to allow you to be able to make an edit. Once you copy it, it's going to allow you to make edits on the same. But let's have a look at this so far. So jumping back just for a minute so I can quickly show you what this looks like. This is a quick version of my visionscaping. I did this back in 2022. So what you want to do is basically map out the evolving self, the evolving self that is you, because again, we are currently changing. But in order for you to do this, you must first understand what your life story is, right? And what you want to do is go back into the past. Like we mentioned, the version of you that is has been shaped by events and circumstances. So you want to go into the past, and you want to go all the way back to the beginning, where you were born, right? And what you want to start doing is start mapping out what are the key events that happened through your childhood, through your teenagehood, through your 20s and your 30s, however old you are right now. What are those key events and key experiences that you went through that shaped how you currently are and how you currently think? Because if at one point you had the opportunity of going left or right and you chose to go right and something happened, then that thing shaped how you currently think. You need to be able to pinpoint, this is the incident that led to my current line of thinking. And the reason this is important is because once you understand why you think the way you think and based on what events, you now enable yourself to feel empowered about shaping how the future versions of you are going to be playing out. Because rather than waiting for those key events to happen to you, you're the one who is actually going out there and looking for those particular events. So, for example, with mine, some again I've blurred out several key segments, but I can quickly call out 2 or 3 items. The first, again, is I was born way back then. And then in 2016, I joined a company that played a very significant role, and I had an amazing mentor who helped teach me a lot. And then in 2017, I became an accountant, which for me was what helped shape me to become a marketer, because I understood how much I didn't like accounting. And again, I joined the agency world, won several awards with some of the best teams in the country. And then in 2022, I decided to leave formal employment and pursue different ventures. Now, the thing is, once you've understood that, you want to also start mapping out what the future might look like. And we are going to cover how this might look like in a few minutes. But I don't want you to just recognize what we are calling inflection points. All of these are inflection points, but you also want to map out potential inflection points that you want to now start heading towards. So, jumping back to the SBA worksheet, we've already mentioned that in this case, you're going to jump and go. I would highly recommend go into your past. Go find the old pictures, right? Of you as a child, of you in school, of you and family members, or like make this as real as possible and map out what each of these particular segments represents for you, right? And you want to tell it as a story. Talk of yourself in that person, right? So born in this area, this person grew up, blah 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 blah. Maybe let's say you were born in a farm somewhere in the middle of very rural areas. Map out what that looks like. If you used to go, like how every parent has, we used to go barefoot to school. Map out what that looks like for you, right? There are those things that you look back on either with pride or with shame. Map them out and understand why your current line of thinking is the way it is, right? And again, it might be a year, so I don't want to limit you in terms of like it must be a significant one monumental event. Maybe it was something that happened during of a different span of time. So it might have happened during a year, it might have happened during a month, it might even have been something that happened significantly in a day. So there's a day you'll forever remember that this thing happened. Now, once you've mapped out your past, again, remember we are saying it's okay. Whatever was. The future is now ours to play with. And what you want to start doing is now projecting yourself into the future. And by understanding the version of you that you want to become, start mapping out what events need to happen in order to bring that version of you to come out. So let's say, for example, your vision is in the next 10 years, you're going to be wealthy, you are financially free, you are married with children, and you are driving your dream car. Let's say that's what the optimum version of you looks like. What you want to now come back and do is start projecting, okay, if I intend to achieve this in the next 10, 20 years, what are the steps that I need to have gone through in order for me to become that person? So let's say that version of you is actually a well-traveled person. Then that one of the things that you want to do is visit, let's say, Paris. So you map out the first step I want to do maybe by 2025 is I want to visit Paris. Go find a visual representation of that goal and put it in here. You want to get married. You want to have a family, right? You want to get your dream car. You want to build financial items that are going to give you financial freedom. And there is that version of you. I will even recommend for you to find a visual representation of how you will look like in this particular era. So what this is doing is you are creating that vision gravity of what is going to pull you, and you're also giving yourself mini maps for what each version of you needs to actually achieve, right? And the other thing you want to do is now what we call the life vision. And the life vision is going to essentially capture this version of you that you want to become at the end of this journey. This is what you need to capture in this life vision sheet. So again, this one is just a sample, but let's say you're a female and you're really inspired by Michelle and Maya Angelou. There are people who really inspire you in your life. And the best thing about this, guys, is you don't need to limit yourself to either like people who are alive. You don't need to limit yourself to characters who actually existed. You can get this inspiration from both fictional and non-fictional characters. And what you want to do is sit down and ask yourself, who are the people who represent certain things that you aspire to become? Again, so in this case, we have Michelle Obama, and the things that she has that you may admire. And we have Gabriel Union, we have Lupita Nyong'o. There are people who have actually achieved these things that you look at. It could be your mom, it could be a friend of yours who's doing really great things, and you admire how they carry themselves. When you picture what the ultimate version of you may actually look like, find those characters and paint this picture out for yourself, right? Again, this is your personal story. You don't need to share this with anyone. So be as vulnerable as you need to be, right? And paint this out as clearly as possible. And you also want to call out what are the characteristics that this version has or this person has that you admire, that you want to actually pick up and imbue in yourself. And now what you want to be doing is constantly looking at this. And now remember, if, for example, let's say you want to become, like, this is the life vision of who the optimal version of you looks like, you need to ask yourself, what events do you need to go through for this version of you to emerge? And that's what's coming back up here. So the next chapter. So both of these things are feeding into each other. Whichever this version of you, whatever events you're going to map out here are going to bring out this version. And whatever this version of you is, in order for this version to come out, you need to go through certain events. And the thing about this is, they may be very painful experiences that you need to go through in order to become this version. Nothing comes easy, right? So what you want to do is to stop being afraid of going towards the dark places. Stop being afraid of taking those things that you know you are afraid of. So let's say, for example, it matters to you that the version of you that emerges needs to have studied abroad, and you know there's an opportunity for you to go, but you are afraid of going, because you're afraid of facing that fear. Just know that in order for you to become this, you need to experience that, and it's perfectly fine for you to actually go towards the fire instead of waiting for it to come to you, because it will come to you even if you try to prevent it. Now, once you've understood what you need to, essentially, once you've built out both of those, the life vision, and mapped out both the past and the future inflection points, what you also now want to do is now map out for the rest of the time that you have, what do you need to achieve in order to hand over to the next version, right? And what I will try and limit you to is a maximum of 3 goals, regardless of what part or how much time is still remaining to you, right? Regardless of what amount of time is still remaining to you, I want to give you a maximum of 3 goals for you to build towards, right? And these 3 goals need to be so big that they're going to have an effect in terms of how you even run your day to day. So let's say, for example, what you want to do is you want to save $1 million, right? You want to see $1 million in your bank account. Maybe it might not be the most reasonable goal within the span of time. So again, give yourself, let's say something a bit more realistic. You want to build an emergency fund, and you know what the amount of money you want to have in that emergency fund. What you want to do is both have a written version of that goal and a visual representation. That's why we have a bit of space here. So you're going to write out the goal, have let's say $500,000 as an emergency fund. And what you want to do is take a screenshot of your bank account or wherever you're going to be storing that cash, put it online and edit and have a visual representation of what that goal actually looks like. Let's say the other goal is you want to go to Zanzibar, or you want to travel to a local destination, or you just want to break the mold and try something that is very different. What you want to do is to actually put that goal and have a visual representation of that goal, because that's what this current version of you needs to start building towards. Okay, so you're going to have a maximum of 3, right? Now, in addition to your life vision, so in addition to this life vision, you need to now write out your own Wikipedia page. And you want to really, again, combine every step that you've seen. You know your story because you've mapped out the inflection points that happened in the past. And you've also mapped out into the future the inflection points that you want to go through. So what you're doing here is basically telling your story as if you are at the end of life's journey. You've done everything, you've accomplished everything. You do not want to limit the things that you put here. If it is your goal for you to win an Oscar like Lupita Nyong'o, before, like 10 years before that happened, nobody would have believed that she would actually become the first Kenyan to actually do that. But that's a goal that, like, you can achieve so much within 10 years time that there's a quote that you underestimate what you can do. You overestimate what you can do in a short amount of time, but you underestimate what you can do over a long enough time period. We have given you 50, 30, 40 years for you to achieve whatever you want to achieve. So do not limit yourself when it comes to this segment. Map it out and be as visual as possible. And then finally, you want to have your affirmations. What are the things that you know to be true about yourself, and what are the things you know that you want to be true about yourself? And you want to keep reiterating this over and over and over again. So based on the person that you want to become, and based on the things that you need to go through, what are the habits that you need to build in yourself that you're going to be, again, living every single day and building towards that, right? So that's the SBA workbook. It's a very, very powerful tool. Once you fill this out and once you've mapped it out, you want to visit this over and over and over again. Like, you need to, it's like a prayer. I will actually recommend every day, just go through it, read every single input that you put in here. If you find other additional people that you want to, again, have a role in for yourself, do that. If you want to break your life vision into, let's say, 3 key segments, in the next 10 years, this is what I want to become. After that, this is what I want to become. You don't need to limit yourself. This is yours. You can do with it whatever you want. And what you're doing basically right now is what you're saying, you are sculpting, right? You are basically sculpting yourself. Like we mentioned, everything that has happened so far, if you haven't been conscious about those things happening to you, then you have emerged out of sheer necessity and sheer good luck. What you want to do is everything moving into the future, let it be shaped by you. Let the person that you're becoming be emergent from a consciousness and not from things happening to you, right? So I hope this makes sense, and I hope this concept, you find this actually useful. And if you do, please feel free to share it with your friends. And if you have questions, drop them on the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.